Good evening. I'm Anne Rousseau.
I'm Anne Marie.
And I'm Anne Beljean.
And this is
A.P.E.
News.
Welcome to the 6:08 p.m. news for August 26th, 1789. We start our show off tonight with a special edition of our Society segment. Take it away, Anne.
I'm Anne Desoleil.
And I'm Anne Jatem.
Welcome to our Society Today segment. We have many human interest stories this week, so let's get started. At the local gambling houses around Versailles, a new fashion trend is emerging that also serves a purpose. The Moretta, also called the Servetta Muta, is an oval-shaped mask made of black velvet. Whatever could it be used for? Well, apparently there are certain ladies and gentlemen who wish to remain anonymous while wagering. These new creative masks are worn to hide their identity while out in public doing, shall we say, questionable activities.
How do they keep the mask on?
Strangely, the masks have no mouth or nose cutouts. It is placed up to the face and held in place with a bite piece that goes into the mouth. Quite unique, actually, and effective.
Speaking of being out and about, the public gardens have become a favorite spot to stroll and be seen, shall we say. One of the favorite spots is in Paris at the gardens around the Tuileries Place. Why, just for a coin or two, one can even purchase a chilled orange as a treat. No wonder it's a favorite spot for recreational outing.
That does sound lovely. Another festive activity which the upper class have been partaking in is that of sledging. It has been recently become quite popular. It involves being pulled over icy or snowy paths in a carriage-like sled. This new activity has people quite ecstatic indeed.
Oh my, how exciting. I would love to try that sometime. Well, on to other cultural news. As we all know, the Musée du Louvre has been around for centuries and definitely has had its ups and downs. Of course, over the past century, King Louis XIV has used it as a venue for intellectual and artistic salons, also having ordered a gallery to be established for antique sculptures. But now, as we hope to be emerging from this revolution here in France, the Louvre is being considered for a national gathering place of sciences and arts. Oh, this is exciting. Our French academic system continues to produce many artists. One that is showing a bit of promise is Jacques-Louis David. His work is quite the rage. He likes to use Greek and Roman forms and emphasizes the use of the profile. This content of his work is classical history. Some say much of his work inspiration comes from Nicolas Poussin in the 17th century. One of my favorite pieces that he has done is called the Les Serments de Horsal. I do so hope some of his work arrives in the Louvre soon.
We look back now to remember the tragedy that happened 5 years ago in 1784. It was a time of transition in the theater scene. A man named Pierre-Augustin Caron, also known as Beaumarchais, was emerging as a respectable playwright. While he held many other jobs before delving into drama, his work gained notoriety. One of his early successes were The Barber of Seville in 1775. His work is said to be full of surprising, amusing twists and quite witty. It would be 9 years after his initial success that Beaumarchais would produce another sensation with The Mirage of Figaro. Now you might ask yourself, what makes this theatrical piece so special? Well, this play was so wrought with revolutionary ideas that it was forbidden to be performed publicly. So instead, Beaumarchais gave private readings in people's homes. However, in 1784, it was finally given the go-ahead to be released in public. At this tragic part, the crowd at the Theatre Français was so intense and heavy that 3 people were crushed to death. Ironically, this seditious play in time became more popular with the royalty. What a story, don't you think? The impact of Beaumarchais in these 2 specific works have left an ongoing admiration for his work. Why, in fact, some would say his dramatic creations could be 2 of the most famous French comedies of the 18th century.
That is quite a story, Anne. And for our last item for our society segment today, all you music lovers will want to hear this. The hurdy-gurdy, or as we French like to call it, vielle-à-roue, is making a comeback. That's right, you heard it here. For those of you who are not familiar with the hurdy-gurdy, I will give you a little background. Generally thought to have originated from fiddles in either Western Europe or possibly the Middle East sometime prior to the 11th century. Crazy, isn't it? Some refer to it as onomatopoeic, which means its name is actually how it sounds. Kind of a fun fact. It is a stringed instrument shaped like the body of a guitar or a lute. It has a winding handle that turns a disc to sound the strings. One hand winds the handle, while the other hand pushes the buttons to produce a melody. While it has been around for centuries, it has recently acquired tremendous popularity among the nobility. One would say it is partially due to French Rococo taste for rustic diversions. Whatever the cause of the appeal, a rare opportunity for a private recital was offered last week for only the most elite at the home of the famous composer Nicolas de Cheville, where he performed multiple pieces, one of which included his most famous Il Pastor Fido. Some say this piece was actually inspired by Vivaldi. Imagine that. I received the most amazing opportunity to hear Cheville perform. Let me share a snippet of the performance with you.
In breaking news today, the top story is the signing of the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. It was drafted by Emmanuel Saez and adopted this morning by the National Assembly. On site at the National Assembly with this key figure is Anne Jatem. Tell us more.
I'm Anne Jatem, on scene for the drafting of the Declaration of Right of Man and Citizen. Let's go see how Emmanuel Saez is doing. How do you feel to be drafting this document?
I feel very happy because I'm giving people what they should have had a long time ago.
And what does this do for the man and citizen of France?
It gives them the right of speech, religion, and press.
Do you think women deserve these rights?
No,
Why not?
because women are property. They do not have any rights.
Okay, thank you for your time. Back to you, Anne. Well, while it seems this is one of the most important documents since the beginning of the French Revolution, it applies only to men. They weren't kidding when they titled it the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Apparently, women are not citizens. Let's go on site to the village to see what the local reaction is. I'm Anne Jatem, back with some on-scene interviews. There has been a lot of controversy over the declaration with newly passed rights only applying to men. Let's compare the perspective of men versus women. How do you feel these newly founded rights will impact society?
I feel like they will positively affect society as a whole.
And why do you feel this way?
Because women don't deserve their own rights. They never had rights to begin with, and they don't have rights now. More rights for men can only have a positive influence on society.
In what areas do men have more control over women?
Men can vote, work jobs for money, and own property. Women can do none of these things. Women have no control.
Do you feel women will ever gain the rights in the future?
No, women will never have rights.
Okay, thank you for your time. I'm Anne Jatem, on scene talking to a peasant woman. Let's see how women feel about this newly passed document. How do you feel about men gaining all of these rights?
I feel it is highly unfair that women are receiving the same rights as men.
Why do you feel that women should be given equal treatment?
Women can do anything given the chance, just as well as men can, but we've never been given the opportunity.
Do you feel women will ever gain rights in the future? If not, in what ways could you gain those rights?
I do believe that at some point in the future, women will be granted equal rights due to our resistance and motivation.
Thank you for your time, ma'am. And now back to you, Anne.
Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen does solidify the belief that men are born and remain free in equal rights. The French government is obligated to secure and maintain the natural rights of men, and political power should be given and governed by the people, not the crown. And I'm not quite sure where women will fit into this new set of laws and practices.
So, what does this new document entail? That's a question many people in the village square want to know. Anne, can you tell us more about that?
It's made up of 17 articles. It grants men freedom of speech, press, and religion.
It also states that men have the right to life, liberty, and property, as well as due process of law and trial by jury. The upper class fears that this document will cause peasants to act disorderly.
We were able to speak with one of the assemblymen that was in the room at the time of the adoption of the Declaration. We have Anne Jatem live at the National Assembly.
am here with the National Assembly with the National Assemblymen. What was the process for writing the Declaration of Man of Rights and Citizen?
Well, I must say, it was quite overwhelming at first. Once we decided to actually draft a Declaration of Rights, the deputies of the National Assembly were still faced with difficult tasks of creating a document that the majority of the Assembly could agree to.
I can only imagine how challenging that must have been. Please, tell me more.
As we debated, several key questions arose. For instance, should the Declaration be short and limited to general principles, or perhaps include a specific list of each person's duties? Maybe it should only include man's rights. It became at most daunting task, to say the least.
Now, after several days of debate, it is my understanding that the Assembly decided to suspend their deliberations on the Declaration, having agreed on 17 articles. Is that accurate?
Well, but of course this is true. These 17 articles laid out a new vision of government in which protection of natural rights replaced the Crown's authority. This required great thought and courage to agree to this endeavor. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must get back to the Assembly. We were out for a pause, but must now get back to work. Thank you, madam.
That was indeed an enlightening interview. Now back to you, Anne. That was quite an interview. Many of the reforms favored by Enlightenment writers appeared in the Declaration. Included in that were freedom of religion, freedom of press, no allowance for taxation without representation, elimination of excessive punishments, and a number of checks and balances against arbitrary functions.
It was stated that the National Assembly, made up of representatives of the French people, felt that the sole causes of public misfortunes and governmental corruption originated from the ignorance, neglect, and contempt of the rights of man.
That is correct, Anne. And as a result of this, the National Assembly felt that they had no choice but to right this wrong by developing the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. This is also thought to be the first step in creating a constitution for France.
Yes, and it is felt that after the Declaration is implemented, it will forever be a reminder to all men of their rights and duties. It is the hope of the National Assembly that all men will embrace their responsibilities and always work to maintain the Constitution and general welfare of the people.
It is interesting that the Assembly came up with 17 specific articles. We'll take a moment to briefly detail all 17 articles in order. These are the rights of people. Well, the men anyways. And the people should know their rights.
Thank you, Anne. Let me start with the first 6 of them. The first article states that men are born and remain free and equal in rights. The second article explains that the aim of every political association is the conservation of the natural and imprescriptible rights of man, which include liberty, property, security, and the resistance of oppression. The third says that the source of all sovereignty is located in essence in the nation. No body or individual can dominate others. Fourth, liberty is doing anything that does not harm others. Fifth, the law only has the right to prohibit those actions which are injurious to society. And sixth, all citizens have the right to take part in the
Goodness,
formation.
Anne, that was an extremely well thought out document. Let me share the next 6 articles. The 7th article says that no man may be indicted, arrested, or detained except in cases determined by the law and according to the forms which it has prescribed. The 8th article declares that only necessary punishments may be established by the law. The 9th has clearly determined that every man is presumed innocent until judged guilty. Article 10 asserts that no one should be disturbed for his opinion, and this includes religion, provided that their actions do not trouble public order. The 11th article declares that every man may speak, write, and print freely if he is willing to accept the consequences of his public displays and reactions of others. And the 12th article states that the self-guard of the rights of man and the citizen requires public power.
Oh my, I am highly impressed with the detail of this document, and there is still so much more to add. The 13th article states that the common taxation is an indispensable and must be assessed according to each individual's ability to pay. The 14th article has determined that there must be transparency in the taxation and its uses. Article 15 states that society has the right to hold accountable every public agent of the administration. The 16th article supports the belief that any society in which the guarantee of rights is not assured, or the separate powers is not settled, has no constitution. And the last article is 17, which defends a citizen's rights to property protection. No one may be deprived of their property except when it's public necessity, certified by law, or requires it. And if a citizen's property must be seized, that man will be justly compensated.
Wow, and no wonder they had to suspend the writing of the Declaration after they'd written those 17 articles. That had to have been an insane amount of effort to create and mutually agree upon. It's just too bad that women were not included. This is Anne-Marie here with APE News, and here's for today's commentary. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen is quite an accomplishment. After all, we have been ruled by the Crown for so long, it is about time we developed our own voice of the people. But that's just it. How do you define people? I have 2 arms and 2 legs and a brain, just like a man does. I have opinions and thoughts and relevant input, just like a man does. In fact, there are things that I can do that a man cannot. And without women, man would not survive. How can this be that I am nothing but property, simply because I am female? This is nothing short of ludicrous. Can these men hear themselves? No, they can't. Does it not stand true that ignorance, omission, or scorn for the rights of women are the only causes of public misfortunes and of the corruption of the government? Why? Not only are we the superior gender in beauty, but in courage as well during the sufferings of maternity. Women are born free and live equal to men in our rights. The nation is nothing but the union of man and woman. We too must stand up for liberty, property, security, and especially resistance to oppression. Did you hear that? Oppression! Nobody or individual can exercise any authority which does not come expressly from the nation. In fact, the only limits on the exercise of the natural rights of women are perpetual male tyranny. That's right, it's nothing but male tyranny. Let's all look to reform these limits by the laws of nature and reason. Of course, all women must be held to the same laws as men and suffer the same consequences. We are not asking for special treatment, only for fair treatment. And since we are all one nation, no society has a constitution if the majority of individuals compromising this nation have not cooperated in drafting it. Property belongs to both genders. It is a sacred right of men and women. How dare they write a declaration only for men? Perhaps we should write our own declaration. That's right. We could call it the Declaration of the Rights of Woman and the Female Citizen. Actually, that's not such a bad idea at all. It could happen. This is Anne-Marie. Let's send it back to you.
Next, we turn to Anne Soleil for today's weather report.
Good evening, I'm Anne Soleil. What a beautiful weather trending we're having this week, and today is no exception. The days are warm, or as we say in French, de soleil, just like my name. The air is fresher and the autumn colors are beginning to show. There's a wonderful feel in the last of summer. The harvest is yet underway, and the sea is still good to do summertime beach activities that everyone loves to do. What a great time of the year. While it is fairly safe to expect some hot, dry weather in the south, Paris and farther north will much likely be experiencing more unpredictable weather ranging from rain or plateau to heat waves, or as we say in French, joie. In Paris tomorrow, you can expect a high of 21 degrees Celsius and a low of 13 degrees Celsius. Bordeaux will be much similar with 23 degrees Celsius and a low of 12 degrees Celsius. Lyon will be the same. Yet is another beautiful autumn day ahead tomorrow. Remember, if you are near Paris, to dress in layers and carry an umbrella just in case. And back to you.
Off on this Wednesday evening, I'm Anne Valjean.
I'm Anne Rousseau.
And I'm Anne-Marie.
And this has been
P.
APE News.